My name is Lariviere, and I'm the Executive Director of the Green Table Network.
Andre, there's something going on in the industry right now, mostly affecting, I would say, Oregon, California. It's the salmon fishing ban that's been announced last week. I'd just like to get your quick comment on that. Top of your head.
Well, I mean, salmon is such a very interesting resource, and of course a very an important resource. More than a resource, it's a way of life here in BC. So every time you talk about salmon, you're talking about a lot of different things. I certainly have been someone who supports a reduction or a much more measured approach to the salmon fishery. I know that in BC, certainly many people have been working for years to try to bring marine stewardship MSC certification to the BC fishery, much the way they've done in Alaska, to provide so that the wild fishery has the kind of value and the kind of safeguards, if you like, that'll make sure that it's a sustainable. Certainly, as you well know, in the industry, I mean, the industry perspective on salmon is very different than the consumer's one, because more often, I mean, the consumer is also buying canned salmon, which is the industry doesn't buy too much of, and in the industry, the choice is basically do we buy farm salmon, do we buy wild salmon, and our position has been. We've looked at the farm salmon industry as not something we necessarily want to support. We want to support a better managed wild fishery. But at the same time, we also understand that the wild fishery needs tougher regulation, because it still exists primarily. Even in BC, to put salmon in a can as opposed to putting salmon on the plate, and that is a very interesting approach to take. We should be looking more towards models like the Alaskans that developed the Copperhead River and all those kind of premium brands. We need to move the wild fishery in BC more towards a high value product that chefs can use, and I support that kind of a model, a move towards that, as opposed to a fishery managed based strictly on consumption. I'd like it to see. I think the salmon fishery in BC needs to move more towards a high value model, as opposed to a pure protein kind of model that it has been for centuries, where we are putting salmons in cans and sending it all over the world. That's a variety of different kind of salmon boats, and seeing different kinds of fisheries, and seeing how salmon is treated in the conventional market, and how it's treated in the more food service and high value kind of market, and it's radically different. Well, the current model for farming salmon, I don't think is necessarily that sustainable. Certainly not the open net kind of things the way it's been managed to date. I don't necessarily think that it all has to be on land to be fully sustainable. Although some of it clearly does need to. We can't keep growing kind of aquaculture that we've had, the kind of current model we've had. Rather than try to make that better, I would rather see us try to move towards a better managed wild fishery. I think that is the key. I mean, because I think we all agree that's a superior product, and when we can get it, if we can manage it better, we'll have it, and it can be a sustainable. Like the Marine Stewardship Council, Fisheries BC. We're fortunate here in BC that at UBC, the Fisheries Department at UBC has done some of the best work in the world, and understanding how the impact of our fishing system on fish populations. So any books and resources by Daniel Pauly and his group on looking how the impact of fishing on the fish population is really worth reading. We talk about the BC fishery, the Oregon fishery, the Alaska fishery. In the end, it's all one big system, and one does affect the other. So we do need to be, if we want to make the right kind of decisions and good decisions, we have to have somebody watching all of that and making sure that we're not protecting one thing or doing something over here that has may have a negative impact over on another side of the world, or even closer. Somebody was asking me about this yesterday, and in many ways, I think eating fish and our consumption of fish is going to be much the way our consumption of meat. I mean, if you're really looking at it very pragmatically, it's not sustainable. You know, we really need to be looking at other sources or more plant-based, a lot less fish and a lot less meat as time goes on. And I think that's a good thing. I think for a lot of reasons. I mean, the health of the population, of the fish population, but for overall, for reducing our impact on the planet. I think we all need more information about Green Table and our approach to sustainable food service. Just come to our website at greentable.net.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.